thanks. How you doing?
All right.
Good.
Had a bit of a back injury, but
shit.
I'm all good other than that.
Oh no. Well, I hope it's.
Yeah,
I guess you're driving, so at least it's not affecting you driving. But is it stopping you walking around or
what? Stopping me from work.
Ah,
so
congratulations.
It's not all
then.
bad. It's not all bad.
So I want to know what the Mandela Effect is. What is that?
Oh, okay. Well, it's this thing. People call it that because of a phenomenon that happened. Hold on, let me put my seatbelt on. Beeping. There's this phenomenon that happened in the 80s where a lot of people in South Africa thought that there was an official news report that Nelson Mandela had died in prison back in the 80s.
Okay.
And then when it came out that he died, just recently, people were like freaking out down there. Wait a minute, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
This happened already. And like it was like a ton of people all had the same false memories. And then it's come up a few times since then, in kind of weird ways, little strange things like where everybody has the same false memory and they're all like pretty sure of it. One of them is the Queen song, "We Are the Champions."
Yes.
At the end of the song, everybody swears that he says, last time he says, "We are the champions," and then he says, "Of the world,"
yeah, that's how I
right at
it.
the end. Yeah, no, he never says
what?
that. He doesn't say "of the world," man. But he did, right? You know he did.
Yeah, I know he did.
Yeah, me too, but he didn't.
No way. Sorry.
I'm telling you. Go listen to it.
I can believe your argument
Turn it on.
that we didn't land on the moon, but I'm not going for that.
I'm telling you. Listen, I love Queen. They're one of my
it.
favorite bands. Me too. They're one of my favorite bands. I love them. When I heard that, I said the same thing. I said, that's crazy. You're wrong. Nope. If you listen to the song, doesn't
Terry
say it.
says he does.
I'm telling you. Put it on right now. Put it on right now. I guarantee it.
At the end.
Because I did this. Yep. The last,
no, he does.
10 seconds. No, he doesn't.
Okay.
I know he does, but he doesn't anymore. That's the point.
What do you mean he doesn't anymore?
Well, a lot of people are freaking out and saying that this is proof of, other dimensions and proof of multiverses colliding and all this crazy stuff. I don't know what any of that.
All right.
I know. But I'm telling you, it's bizarre.
Okay, he doesn't say it at the end of the song. He says it in the middle, but it's like...
Well, he does, right? But
he says "of the
world." But everybody remembers it at the end.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I know that can be easily misconstrued.
Okay.
But
okay. All right, I can. Okay, I get your point. All right, so Chris, do you believe?
It's pretty bizarre. Like
I believe in evolution.
Yes,
and
I
I think Chris does.
Yes.
Too. Yeah. Yeah, Anthony. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we both do. So, okay. All right. So, okay, that's interesting.
But it's weird. There's many of these too. There's another one. I don't know if you know of this particular set of children's books called the Berenstain Bears.
No, I've never heard of that.
Okay. Well, when I was a kid, they were pretty big,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember reading them. And I know for a fact, that they were called the Berenstain Bears. Steen being Stein.
Okay.
But if you go back and you look at those books, or you read anything about it online, or look at any of it now, they are the Berenstain Bears. Stain.
Okay, so the Wikipedia article has it written. Okay, it even has a correction built in. Like if you look at the title, it's Bernstein Bears, in parentheses Berenstain Bears. Okay.
Right, because there's so many people searching for Bernstein because that's what they remember.
Okay. Well, I get where you're going with this. Then the Mandela Effect. I understand what that is.
Right. It's just one of those strange things. Massive groups of people having false memories, or are they false memories? Because I know that I remember Berenstain. I have one of those crazy memories, and I just know I did. It was not Stain.
So this, all right. So don't ruin my childhood. Yeah. So I think that I've got some. There are some examples I probably can think of. Like I remember everybody. I remember everyone. There's a show called Captain Pugwash when I was a kid, and like I think this was kind of a bit of a joke thing that went around and just became popular. But there was this thing that came out, this story that came out where they were all supposedly sexual innuendos, and like the master of the ship, I don't know, like the guy who swabbed the deck, I guess. His name was like Master Bates and stuff like that, and we all remembered it being called that, but it turned out it wasn't true. Someone had just made this elaborate thing. But you're talking about like, are you saying there's some sort of reason behind this, like physical reason, or are you just thinking it's like people just get confused and down rabbit holes?
I wouldn't call it well, I'll tell you what, I don't know. That's why it's interesting to me, because I have no idea how this could happen. I think it's like one of two things. I narrowed it down to like one of two things. Either A, which is probably the most logical, that people just create these false memories after the fact, and you ingrain them in yourself, and you just make yourself believe it. That's pretty likely. That happens a lot. People's memories are faulty, but I always feel like I have a really good memory, and some of these are really working on me. Like I know that it was not Berenstain when I was a kid, but that's just me. The other option,
I mean, that's why eyewitness testimony is very unreliable, isn't it?
Yes, it is, because you could fill in gaps that were never there, and you could make things up that didn't happen. I totally know about that, but it's kind of weird that everybody all has the same false memory, like mass groups of people.
Yeah, it's like in the world of Facebook and stuff, it's very easy to see how information spreads and could become distorted and so on, because you see it.
But these were things that were happening before the age of Facebook.
Yeah, it's like the Richard Gere story, right? This Mandela Effect thing makes me nuts. Vino stuff. Yeah,
it's a weird thing.
So I guess other people have experienced this too. Yeah. The Richard Gere thing in the 80s. I remember that it was like this whole. I mean, seems like all the ones I remember related to some kind of sexual deviance or something like that. So.
Oh yeah, I know the story. Yeah, Richard Gere. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, man, there's something to it, because I know the first time I heard it, it freaked me out pretty bad. I was like, what the hell? There's no way I misremembered that. It's just one of those things. But I don't know.
Do you know Vino Steph?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
She's my girlfriend.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
So she's filled in on all this stuff. She's at home right now. She's watching me argue.
Watching videos about the Mandela Effect. I got to read up on them.
Yes.
But you're not saying,
it's bizarre.
Clear, you're not implying that this is some sort of like multi-universe thing that you mentioned.
Well, I'm not saying that I totally believe that and think that's 100% what it is, because that's impossible to prove. But what I am saying is that there's something is at work. If it's not just faulty memories, because there's a lot of people having these same faulty memories. If it's not that, then I think it could be some sort of collective consciousness thing at work, or some sort of metaphysical thing that we just don't really understand yet happening, where everybody shares the same experience. But I don't know. That's why it's interesting to me. This one I'm not too sure about. It's just a weird thing to think about.
I've never heard the term before. That's a very interesting term. But I mean, I've definitely I can't think of really any good examples that aren't disgusting. But but there are loads of examples that I sort of feel like I have. I feel like we are under an illusion with our minds that we have some sort of like controlled process going on here, and that there's like we really understand what's going on, and we are this thing, and like we believe a lot about ourselves, like we have a good memory and stuff, and that kind of helps us function. But I think a lot of it is just made up crap that you tell yourself, and that's the same with
probably is.
Yeah, and I feel like if you hear a story, or if you hear someone mispronounce, say, if you hear Berenstain Bears and someone mispronounces it Bernstein or something, I think, like for me, the way when I hear someone say something, I try and spell it out in my head. So if I hear them say it wrong, I'm going to spell it out wrong in my head. And I think that's what's
Right.
happening. But I don't know. But that's an odd one.
Well, that's why the Bernstein one gets to me so much, because I'm like OCD with my spelling. And if I heard, even especially as a kid, I was like one of those spelling bee kids.
Mm.
And if I heard, or if I saw the word being spelled Berenstain, I would have said it that way in my head.
Yeah.
Over and over again. And that's how I would remember it, Berenstain.
Mm-hmm.
But I never once said that in my head, and there's no way I would have fooled myself over and over again into reading it wrong. Because I read a lot of those books. I have them at my mother's house. You know, they're there. It's so weird. It's just so weird to me that I would remember it wrong.
That is weird. But I remember. So you do, when you're young and you are exposed to something, even like an incorrect spelling or something, it sinks in more quickly. Like, for example, there's a story that I think is quite funny. When I was a kid, I went to Disney World when I was living in the UK. I went out to Disney World, and then we went out to a swamp, for a day just to do an airboat ride. And I remember the guy, I don't know how I remember this. He couldn't have said this, but the guy who was doing the tour said that alligators can run at 60 miles an hour. Maybe he didn't say that. Maybe I just exaggerated it in my head somehow. But this was when I was about 10. And then when I went to university, it was like I would have been 20. And I was sitting there in a house with a bunch of other people who are, people who take numbers seriously and stuff like that. And I just proclaimed this without just no processing, just like, oh, well, alligators can run at 60 mile an hour. And everybody started cracking up. And, this guy told me, I had this visualization of a crocodile with roadrunner legs, passing a car on the highway sort of thing.
That's true.
You just don't process these things when you're a kid, which is why religion sinks in very young and stuff like that.
Yes, that's true.
So
that's true. Maybe he said 16.
Seems an odd thing.
That would be more believable.
16 would be an odd thing to say though as well, wouldn't it? It'd be like
it would.
I think what I was doing was telling myself a story, and I was 20 miles an hour. Well, let's call it 25, or that sort of thing. It's about 50. That sort of thing, and then you keep rounding it up. I think I must have done something like that. So, hang on. So Steph said she believes in parallel universes, and we could be sitting next to each other, but mentally be in different universes.
She believes that because we have these moments where she will swear that something didn't happen, and I'll swear that it did, and we're both 100% sure of our memories. So she tends to believe neither of us is wrong. We could both be right. I guess that's what she's thinking, but I don't know. Sometimes I think she's just got a poor memory.
Yeah, but we're all in our own universe in a way, right? Because we can't experience the universe directly. But I find it difficult to imagine how. I mean, I guess there's the universes collapse when they touch each other or something weird like that. But I don't understand how they can be completely separate. How they can be completely separate experiences. And how at that point I feel like the explanation is just something in your head is different, and you just experience it differently and apply different emphasis to it. I don't know. That's a difficult one for me to accept. The makeup tricks, and all of a sudden it's a trend among YouTube makeup gurus. Yeah, I think that's just an example of mimetics.
People follow.
Yeah, Richard Dawkins was way ahead of his time when he came up with that, because it really does describe the modern world we live in. As if there's an A universe, B, C, and D. They're similar, but some things are misplaced. Nope, don't buy it. Don't buy it. This is an interesting idea.
I don't know. It's an interesting thing. It's hard to explain, though. It's hard to put your finger on how something like this can happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just weird. It's so weird.
I tell you something else is I was talking to a friend at lunch, and he was telling me that, sometimes, and I've experienced this myself, sometimes you're nothing has changed in your life, but you'll within 5 minutes, you'll go from feeling awesome about it to feeling like the world is terrible, right? And it's just nothing has changed. It's just your mood has changed, but it feels like the universe has changed. And I think that feeling is a little bit to blame for this kind of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, that's a very poorly thought out hypothesis. So,
I mean, it could be as simple as not truly separate universes per se, but each of our perceptions being so separate from each other. Yeah, it's true. I think each of our perceptions being so separate from one another that we could totally perceive things in such different ways from one another.
But wouldn't they diverge?
What do you mean?
I mean, if they were really separate universes, wouldn't they diverge?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't. Maybe they're not really separate universe. Like, we're all experiencing the same stimulus, but we all experience it differently.
So it's internal representation, basically.
Right, as in, like, your sense of sight would be closer to another person's sense of touch in a weird way. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You couldn't explain that. Yeah. You'd never be able to explain that to somebody, but it could happen.
That's called different qualia. That's what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It could be something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a thought, but it's just a crazy thing.
I'm probably going to spend the whole afternoon being unproductive and looking up the Mandela Effect.
If you type that into YouTube, you will spend some time for sure.
Shit.
You'll spend some time.
Oh,
yeah. But I figured you'd find this one interesting.
Yeah, man. I don't know if that's okay. There's a Snopes article on it at the top, so I'm going to have to read about that. And they've got the Berenstain Bears at the very top of that article. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for wasting my afternoon.
Yep. No problem.
Good to see you back here again, by the way, man.
Yeah, man.
So are you gonna talk to Chris, Kayla, or Anthony about evolution, or am I?
I'll do it. I just got to do something for about 5 minutes here, and then I'll definitely jump in there.
All right, I think you can tackle it. I'll watch. Well, I'm also simultaneously watching YouTube. Crap.
There you go.
All right, dude, I'll see you.
All right, man.
Bye.
I'll talk to you. Bye.